Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 14th of March, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies. Quite a lot of action this morning in Forex, sterling falling again. Then we'll look at stock markets, commodities, US stocks. And then we'll look at some FTSE stocks as well. So we start with the euro. So euro has risen quite strongly in the last few days, but is just pulling back now, and that's quite key. We're seeing the dollar is actually stronger, although we're not yet back above the cloud. So quite a lot of interesting play just going on between the euro and the dollar at the moment, but it is still very much about dollar strength in the medium to long term. Japanese yen. We're seeing here dollar strength is still remaining there, so that's where it's kicking in quite well. But sterling is really the interesting one, and if we look at the sterling chart, we see here this morning we've just really fallen off a cliff, having had a little bit of a recovery yesterday. And this is what we see in these downtrends: short-term recovery, and then we see renewed weakness. 2116 was the target. We've been there this morning, so that's quite key. We've got 121.16, and we've got also 117.70 as the next downside target. So this 120 level looking really under pressure now for sterling. Looking at sterling against the euro, it's been a steady trend for the last few weeks as well. So we are just seeing this multi-week low. I mean, on sterling, we really are now back to where we were in January, and that low there at about 120 is now what we're looking at coming under pressure. Looking at sterling against the Swiss franc, 122. And against the Australian dollar, 160.66. So this 160 level that we saw back at the start of March, looking like it's going to be revisited. US stock market, S&P 500, just hanging on in there. We're just starting to turn a little bit bearish there with the price below the cloud in the short term. It'd be interesting to see today whether we can stage a recovery. Nasdaq is holding its bullishness, and that's looking pretty good all round. And the Dow Jones is just like the S&P, just wandering below the cloud. The Russell 2000 has had a less good March, and we are below the cloud here. So the broader market falling a bit more, but we are seeing that starting to recover. But we are below the cloud short term. And looking at the future is actually just okay, just kicking above. So at the moment, just showing a small down movement on the future at the opening, but that might change through the day. FTSE 100 is up this morning. We're just above the clouds, so we're just holding that bullishness. Remember, we'd like to see at least 3 hours as a breach. We didn't quite breach for 3 hours on last week, so we are still bullish on all three time frames with these upside targets. So looking pretty good. FTSE 250 is actually down slightly, but it is bullish above the clouds still, so nothing to worry about there. And the DAX is holding its bullishness as well. The Nikkei is down very slightly overnight, but still holding its bullishness. And the Hang Seng is just starting to get through the cloud to turn bullish again as well. Shanghai Composite, nothing major to worry about here. Looks like we're getting to hold that short-term position and back into the bullishness as well. The Sensex in India is looking great. Really big move overnight, 1.85%. So India looks great now, long-term, medium-term, and short-term, with really good upside targets as well. So the Indian stock market just looking amazing at the moment. It's one of the best-looking markets. The Australian 200 index is looking also good. We're above the cloud here on all three time frames, and we've got a lot of upside targets here for the Aussie index. So it's looking pretty good. 3.5%. We've even got a target here to 7%, but there's quite a lot of targets to 3%, 5%, and 7%. So that's also looking good. Brent crude oil has fallen again overnight. We're down very slightly this morning, but really this is a fall out of bed. Very unusual for this time of year. The seasonality of crude oil is normally strong at this time of year, and we're falling away and we're below the cloud here with downside targets as much as 5 and 8% into the high 40s. So it looks like $50 will break now on Brent with that breakdown in price. And WTI, much the same picture as you would expect, also bullish. US nat gas is just holding its bullishness, still holding on to the $3 level. We're bullish in the long term. The medium term chart chart is still a bit bearish, but the short-term trend continues, so looking pretty good. Copper just starting to get through the cloud there on the short term, so starting to look a little bit better there. Taking a look at gold, just trying to get out of the cloud weakness here, but we're just not managing. But at the moment, looks like we might be undergoing a transition. So gold might have seen the floor at 1194. We'll just have to see. And if we take a look at silver, also there we're seeing quite an interesting transition potentially as well, and we can see that going through the cloud too. Taking a look at the US government bonds, well, tomorrow is D-Day for the Fed. We're expecting a raise in interest rates in the US. At the moment, we're sitting at 262. That's 2.62% on the 10-year Treasury yield. That's looking pretty bullish at the moment. We're above the cloud. We've got an upside potential to 274. That's another 5% upside, 2.74%. And so yields really just in bullish mode. Strong dollar, strong treasuries, so US markets looking pretty good all round. Apple is bullish above the cloud still, as is Google. We've got good upside targets there. Amazon is also looking pretty good. Facebook making new highs, 139.60. We've had these two targets to 141 and 140.72 for some time. I hold Facebook shares, I should declare that. And the fact that there's lots of multiple upside targets here looks great. Microsoft, also one I own, is looking bullish still above the clouds as well. Not quite as good looking as Facebook. And Nvidia, which I sold, just starting to undergo a recovery, but a lot of chop there after an amazing run over the last year. Taking a look at some FTSE stocks, basically we start by just clicking on this column for the leaders. So we're seeing utilities like Severn Trent, BT up there. Burberry is a highlight because most retail not looking good this morning, but Burberry's looking pretty good. Randgold Resources, you may remember yesterday, was one of the best performers. Bats also came up in our scan we did last week when we were looking at best FTSE stocks, and that's up very strongly this morning as well. And then stocks like Prudential as well, so we're seeing that. Looking at the stocks not performing so well, retail basically, M&S down quite significantly, down 2.2%, Next down 1.4%, and Pearson's we're seeing here just falling away as well. Banks as well, Royal Bank of Scotland falling this morning, and Lloyd's Group and IAG. That oil price should be helping IAG, but falling sterling is probably having an effect as well. Anyway, that's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.